I just want to tell you how excited we are to welcome in the first class of this era of Houston Cougar football, the 2015 class of signees. We've addressed quite a bit of needs on our roster. We've got, as you may or may not know, we've got 7 offensive linemen that are seniors this year that will be walking out of the door. So we signed, I believe, 3 to 4 offensive linemen. We signed multiple linebackers because we will be playing in a 3-4 system, so some of them are inside, some of them are outside backers where we needed some depth at that position. And then obviously we have no tight ends on our roster currently, and we will play with a tight end this year, so felt like we needed to go out and sign at least 1 junior college tight end as well as 2 college-ready tight ends to help us next year. So with that, again, I want to say the excitement about this signing class and this season is off the charts. We and myself and our staff were welcomed with open arms by the high school coaches in this state, especially in this city. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the help of all these young men's coaches and the support staff that we have here at the University of Houston that helped us sign these 21 young men. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
What impressed you the most about these kids?
One, they've got great grades. I think somebody told me the average GPA is 3.1 or 3.2. I believe that's correct. And then they're all winners. We had 7 state champions, 13 first team all-conference, a couple all-state guys that really know how to win. I think the combined record of this class was 149 and 80 or something like that. So they were winners both on and off the field, and then, you know, they were guys that wanted to be Cougars.
How much of an emphasis did you have as far as keeping the Houston kids at home?
The question was how much emphasis is keeping the Houston kids home. Priority number 1. We are as much talent as there is throughout the state of Texas and in its bordering regions. This is a city, maybe the most heavily recruited city in America when it comes to high school talent. And I believe the best coached players in the country are in this state and in this city. And so we wanted to make sure that the city of Houston was well represented in our signing class. Now we're not going to just take guys because it says Houston, TX on their driver's license, but we will make an emphasis and keep that emphasis here in the city. And in fact, I told our guys, our staff this morning, that we're already, knee deep in the 2016 class, and I told them as many as we signed from Houston this year, I want to sign twice as many next year because I know they're there, and we just got to keep them home.
How much do you feel like your Buckeyes experience, the national championship, helped as far as the energy on the recruiting trail?
I don't know how much. I think it did. I don't know how to quantify it, but it helped a lot in terms of being associated with winners. Everybody wants to go someplace that has won or knows how to win. And we've got over 100 years of recruiting experience in the state of Texas alone on my staff. We've got Oscar Giles, who coached and won a national championship. We've got Major Applewhite, who played or coached in the national championship. We've got conference championships galore throughout our coaching staff. So, and I think the cherry on top certainly was my experience at winning the national championship with Ohio State. And so it feels good to know that your head coach and your staff don't just say they're going to win, they know how to win and they've done it. And it turns from theory to testimony. Everybody can say, oh, we're going to do this. Well, guess what? I've done this. There's a big difference. There's a big difference.
What's the philosophy on the skilled players? Do you keep them with the intent to see them play early, or is it case by case?
It's certainly case by case, yeah. But if skilled players that's a good question. Skilled players should be able to play earlier. than certainly offensive linemen and defensive linemen and quarterbacks, but skilled athletes should be able to play early. And I would tell you, if we've got too many that aren't playing early, then we've done a poor job recruiting, because in this city, in this state, there's plenty of skilled athletes to go around that can contribute early. So it's really at that point up to the young man. You know, if we've done our job recruiting, which I'm pretty certain that we have in evaluating these young men, now it's how committed are they in the weight room in the summer and in the off-season drills, and then once we get to training camp, can they stay healthy? Can they adjust to a college training camp and what's required of them? And then if they come out on the other side ready to contribute, then they certainly will.
As you finished off this class, did some of these connections that you've built, that your staff has built locally, did those pay off with anyone in particular?
I don't know anyone in particular. I'd say all of them. Yeah, I mean, we signed 2 or 3 kids from Northwest Louisiana that Oscar Giles, with just his 1 year in that state, he spent 9 years recruiting the state of Texas, or 10 years recruiting the state of Texas, and goes there 1 year, and his ties helped us up there. You know, I've recruited this state for forever, and then, like I said, I think there's over 100 years of recruiting just the state of Texas on our staff. So it does help. It helps, especially when getting in the ball game, so to speak, so late with some of these guys, as we were and I was. It helps for that young man, because recruiting is all about relationships. And you know, some of the guys that we lost and tried to get, I said, guys, move on. You're not going to, this kid is obviously very tied to his recruiting coach, to his head coach, to the people at that university. So recruiting is about the relationship between the young man and the people that are going to be around him. I firmly believe that. You know, it doesn't matter how much shiny stuff you have and how new your stadium is, and or how much you win and all that stuff. It's about the people. And so to circle back, the connections that we had throughout the state of Texas in the high schools, friends, mentors, guys that I would consider colleagues, certainly helped kind of get us in that door and say, hey, you know what? I've known these guys for I've got a 10-year relationship with them. I've got a 15-year relationship with them. You can trust these guys. They're good guys. They know what they're doing. They're going to win, and they're going to take care of you in life after football. And so it made that transition into the relationship phase of recruiting a little bit easier, still difficult at some times.
Tom, about 3 weeks you were able to, you and your staff.
2 weeks and 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
I'm just curious with Schultz, since he's kind of a mid-year guy, how much did getting a transfer affect what you maybe would have had to have done recruiting in terms of not just running out and grabbing a quarterback just for sake to have them?
A ton. I know there was maybe some concern or speculation out there about not signing a high school quarterback, and to get Adam was big for us. He's a guy that's started and won football games at the highest level of college football, and he's a guy that, as Major Applewhite told our group earlier, he's a guy that got in his car from Wisconsin, drove to Utah, walked on, earned the starting job. Then the incoming class is full of 3 quarterbacks. He gets pushed aside for the 3 scholarship guys, continues to compete. 3 years later, or 2 years later, earns the starting job again. They put him on scholarship. He's on scholarship for 2 years, and then gets in his car and drives 22 hours from Salt Lake City to Houston to go play his final year here for us. So he's a competitor. He's a kid that loves football, and he's a kid that provides some competition at that position, which was duly needed with the loss of one of our guys that wanted to be here, didn't want to be here, wanted to be here, didn't want to be here, wanted to be here, then again didn't want to be here. So we needed some competition at that spot, and he provides it. We're going to, I would assume, continue to look, although I can't comment on any specifics, continue to look in the junior college ranks for a guy that would be available to come to us in summer school. And then we'll focus our energy on the 2016 quarterback, and as maybe the guy that kind of takes us into the next generation, if you will, because we certainly weren't going to, these quarterback recruiting is nuts. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, having coached the position for years now, I mean, these kids are committing as sophomores, they're committing in the spring of their junior year. I mean, it's gotten so early that you don't even get a chance to see these kids play, sometimes even as juniors. And so when you get a job in December or January, these kids already all have homes. And the ones that do have homes that still want to talk to you, they're probably not the level that you want to recruit. And so we went out, we looked at a bunch of high school kids and just said, finally, we said, you know, it's probably in our best interest to use that scholarship elsewhere. We're not going to sign a guy just to sign a guy, and then we'll bring Adam in, we'll bring a junior college kid in June, and then we'll focus all of our attention on a 2016 quarterback here in the state of Texas.
So talk to me about Tyreek Gray. How were you able to lure him to Houston as opposed to Baylor or Arkansas?
People, you know, Coach Blacklock, our director of high school relations, because I have not hired an offensive line coach, the NCAA still allows you 10 people to go out on the road recruit as long as they pass the recruiting test. So he was our 10th designated recruiter, and he had a relationship with that family, did a hell of a job recruiting them and at least getting our foot in the door. And then, you know, just the relationship, you know, you build it as fast as you can, and you sell them on a vision of what the future here at U of H will hold for them, but you also sell them on what you've done in the past, which is win a national championship. And 3 out of the last 4 running backs I've coached have rushed for over 1,000 yards. So again, there's some testimony on how we use the tailback in this offense as well.
Coach, is that how you'll use him here? He'll be a running back for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Tom, the NCAA, as you know, now allows recruits to send in e-faxes as opposed to fax machines. Will you miss hanging around the fax machine? Do you have any fax machine horror stories?
We actually had 3 fax machines today. We're still a bit old school. We kind of like the drama a little bit, probably. We sent them both a paper copy that they could fax and an electronic copy that they could email back, and most of the kids chose to fax it too, because I'm sure their high school coaches are a little bit old school too. So I don't see that going away too soon, but I would imagine eventually it'll be the dinosaur in our profession that it is in every other profession. And then horror stories, I think one time when I was at Sam Houston, we gave them the wrong fax number on the packet that they got. So it was about 9 a.m. before we got our first fax, and that was a little bit scary. But other than that, I think everything's worked out pretty good.
You don't hang by the machine?
No. And you know, I see these schools, even some in our own conference, in our own state, that do all this hooping and hollering after guys send in their fax. And it's not that I'm not committed or not excited about these guys coming, but there were no surprises. I don't know what we're getting excited about. You know, this kid said yes, he gave us our word, he looked us in the eye, shook our hand, and you know, 7 a.m. the fax comes in. We got work to do, man. We got our team to get to know. You know, we were out on the field with our team at 4:45. You know, we were back in the locker room. I was eating breakfast with our team at 7 a.m. Because at the end of the day, these kids aren't going to win the games for us this year. And although we're really, really, really excited about it, I don't know what all the hooping and hollering and bell ringing and all that good stuff is about. I come to work and look at the fax machine, and we did our job and signed one of the best classes in our conference, and we move on.
Tom, the first time a head coach coming into a program that had already laid some of the recruiting ground for this class. Is there a line that you had to walk in terms of reaffirming to kids that maybe had committed under a previous staff to try to keep them, and at the same time also using whatever numbers you had left to go out and pursue some guys that would fit what you wanted to do?
Yeah, that was a big balancing act, to be honest with you, because you take the tight end position, for example, there was no roster spot for a tight end. So you're taking 3 scholarships, and when you only have 85, that's a big number. You're taking 3 scholarships and saying, we got to take them from somewhere. And then you've got these kids that are committed, and we evaluated every single one of them that were committed previously, and we told them we will honor every commitment, that it's non-negotiable. We will honor every commitment from the previous staff that would, I don't know that I would be allowed in any high school in the state of Texas had I not done it that way. But there were a select few that we said, you have a scholarship at the University of Houston, but I'm not sure really how you fit in our offense, defense, special teams, so on and so forth, and we will not be upset should you decide to look elsewhere and even choose another school to go to, and a couple opted to, and we were plenty okay with that because we feel like the 17 that we signed were exactly what we needed. Or 17 plus the 21 mid-year, or the 4 mid-year.
So you say you were doing something at 4:45 this morning?
Yeah, the last 3 days.
What are we doing at 4:45 this morning?
We were we had some team building exercises. While we were on the road recruiting, some guys, I don't know whether it was to test the waters or to see if the old culture was acceptable around here, but we had a few missed workouts and missed breakfasts and missed meetings and missed tutors, and so we put chains on the locker room door and we kept them out of the locker room and took their equipment away and their gear away and reminded them that it was a privilege to play for the University of Houston and to go in that locker room, and that they had to earn it back these last 3 days. Actually, it was scheduled all week, but they had to make this specific workout in a certain amount of time, and obviously Monday and Tuesday were a train wreck. They didn't even come close, and today they actually knocked it out of the park, and we took the chains off the doors. The kids were fired up. They got to shower, which was cool. They all were fired up about showering before going to class, and they got to put their U of H gear back on, and I told our director of football operations to make sure that he doesn't throw those chains away, though, because they could go back on at any moment, any time that we forget how this culture is going to be around here, that we'll throw them right back on and decide to, maybe we'll do it at 3:45 a.m. and figure out who really wants to be part of this program.
How much did you stress this culture?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
How much did you stress this culture to
A
the
ton. A ton. I think any time, and that's one of the ones that's a little bit of theory. This is my first head coaching job. This is my first time with a lot of these guys on staff. But I've seen how a winning and championship culture is developed and what's needed, and we made sure that they understood that this was going to be a culture of toughness, a culture of accountability, but at the end of the day, a culture of fun. But maybe I'm old school. Fun to me is winning. That's really fun. The other stuff, the grinding, the lifting weights, the waking up early, that's just a price to pay to win, and that's the ultimate fun. And I'm gonna take care of these guys, and that's one thing that we did sell was life after football. That we've got a plan in place to make sure that when they stop playing football, that they've got opportunities out there in the real world, especially in the city of Houston, which, by the way, I believe is the #1 job creating city in America. There's more jobs created in the city of Houston every day than anywhere else in this country. And we're going to tap into that resource like none other and make sure that, because nowadays, when I graduated college, a degree was worth something. You got a degree and a piece of paper, and you went and applied for a job and you got it. Nowadays, I don't think that's the case in this market, that you've got to have an in, you've got to have a tie, and we're going to make sure that our guys are connected, that our guys are doing internships, that our guys have every resource they need, that when the cheering stops, when football is over, when they're done playing, whether it be here at the University of Houston, whether it be a 3-year career in the NFL, whether it be 15 years in the NFL, that they're going to be set for life after football. And that's what this great university affords them, is that opportunity with this degree, this city, this state, and then the resources that we're going to provide to them. I think that was an easy sell because the plan is in place.
Something there was the Aldridge connection with U of H with Josh Jones, but any insight on that 11th hour kind of decision there, the ability for this program to go and not only stay locally, but get a really key position at the tackle position?
Yeah, that was big for us. And again, Craig Niver, Dallas Blacklock did a hell of a job recruiting him, as well as, believe it or not, we had, I'm trying to think, we had Ken Pope, myself, Dallas Blacklock, Oscar Giles, Craig Niver, and I believe Drew Maringer in his home in one night, and we sat down and hung out with him and his dad for, I don't know, hours on end, and just kind of talked and got to know each other. And then Coach Aldridge, certainly, I don't know what was said when I left the room. I don't know what was said behind closed doors, but I do know that I felt a lot more confident knowing that we had a Cougar sitting behind that head coaching desk than had we had some other logo, that I can assure you. And I'm sure he played a part. And as you find out, high school coaches don't tell kids where to go. That just doesn't happen. Very rarely does it happen. What they do is they give them advice. And they give them, because there's a reason they're head coach. There's a reason they're a coach, for the same reason I am, for the young man's well-being. And so they're going to give them advice that they think is best for them. And again, that's just advice, but they don't tell them where to go. You need to go here. They give them great sound advice, and they give them their insight and opinions on the universities and the people associated with those universities. And I'm sure, I would hope at least, that Coach Aldridge helped us a bunch in that.
Bigger dinner crowd than mom and dad were expecting? You think they're preparing for one, or?
No, there was no, actually he had a pizza, so there was some dinner. Yeah, we kind of surprised them a little bit with that many people. But he needed to know how important he was to us too.
Where are you at number-wise in terms of, do you have some still available?
Not for the counters, because the previous staff had signed 3. No, I guess so. We have one counter left. The previous staff, no. Sorry.
I'll check later.
Yeah, the previous staff had signed 3, so they had to count them forward in mid-year last year, in which they counted forward. So we were working with 22, okay? And then we signed 4 mid-year, so that puts us at 18 or 19, somewhere around there. So we're like 1 or 2 over, but knowing that there'll be attrition, knowing that maybe 1 or 2 of these guys may not qualify. So that's kind of where we're at. I think, I'm still learning the math part of that stuff, man. My wife's the math one. I'm just a knucklehead that BS'd my way on essays to get a business degree and a communications degree, like all you slouches.
So you signed a tight end by the name of Russell Clark. You said that's your position this year. How did you plan on utilizing that position?
Yeah, I don't know how that position will be utilized. It's kind of up to the guys at that position, really. You know, I've had tight ends that caught 111 balls in one season, and James Casey, you know, a few years back, just right down the road. I've had tight ends that were more blockers, but we're going to play with the tight end. You're going to have to defend the tight end run game in our offense. So they got to be able to block first and foremost, and then can we do all the things that we could do with James or with Jeff Hireman and Nick Vanette at Ohio State, or Colin Franklin at Iowa State? I don't know. That's up to those guys. But I know the defense will have to defend tight end side run game. And so that's the first part of their game that we'll develop. And that's why, again, I stress that the 2 high school tight ends that we signed were from, if you notice what programs they were from, Cedar Hill and Pearland. You know, we didn't go get a project tight end. We got 2 high school tight ends that were in programs that had won a whole lot of ball games and had played high school football at the highest level in the country, so that hopefully when they get here in June, a couple months of off season and a training camp, they can get out there and help us in some way as well.